Chapter 1, Historical. It is not necessary to know a great deal of history in order to practice the good religion. Its teachings stand on their own and are valid in and of themselves. They do not need to be justified or defended by historical arguments. The teachings are practical and internal in their values. History is merely a contextual exercise. We can learn more about how the ideas came to be and learn something of the human beings who are at the roots of the faith. This provides texture and context. Some, however, will find historical aspects of extreme importance, and so we place it here at the beginning. The Indo-Europeans. The Indo-European world is the root of our own present-day culture. For many, this is a strange concept. Some have never even heard of Indo-Europeans before. This is because the medieval church in the West did all it could to eradicate all knowledge of our true heritage. We share our primeval culture of language and ideas with those living in India and Iran, as well as the well-known nations of Europe, the Germanic peoples, including the English, the Celts, Irish, Scots, and Welsh, Italians, Greeks, and Slavs. It is important to understand that the roots of the good religion are ones that we all share. We are part of the same primeval culture to which Zarathustra belonged all those thousands of years ago. This is in contrast to the culture of the ancient Hebrews, with which we share no common root. The idea of Mesopotamia as the cradle of civilization is one promoted by the medieval church. Our culture's deepest roots, as we shall see, lie in the region north of the Caucasus Mountains, between the Black and Caspian Seas. We cannot hope to treat this idea comprehensively in a book of this kind. I would refer the reader to the section Indo-European and the Indo-Europeans in any recent edition of the American Heritage Dictionary. Nevertheless, it is important to understand the most ancient cultural context which give rise to the priest Zarathustra's prophetic insights. The Indo-Europeans, more romantically referred to as Aryans, probably had their origins around 5500 BCE at least. The testimony of archaeology would seem to suggest this. A culture existed at that time in the region of north of the Caucasus and the area of steppe lands bordered by deep forest to the north. Some say they originally migrated to this region from even farther north. More importantly, we can say that some fairly tight-knit group of these people spoke a language which linguists call Proto-Indo-European. This language coalesced around 4500 BCE, and it was about this time also that they began their further migrations. These migrations would eventually take them all around the world. They entered what is present-day Turkey and became the Hittites. They entered Europe, where they became the Celts, Germanics, Italics, Hellenics, Greeks, and Slavs. Another group, the Indo-Iranians, at first stayed close to the original homeland, and then moved southward and to the east around the time of 1700 to 1300 BCE. While still in the homeland, these people use a term related to the word Aryan to divide themselves. The word is the same root found in the term Iran and Ireland, or the Germanic Ir-men. Technically, Aryan refers only to the Indian branch, but it was adopted by the West as the best example of the self-identification of these people, our most distant cultural ancestors. Through a combination of linguistics and archaeology, we now know a good deal about the culture of these Aryans. If there is a word for something derived from a common root, Sanskrit, Greek, and Gothic, for example, then it must mean that this word and the object or idea that it denotes were present before the languages went their separate ways over time and space. Using these methods, we can know that the Indo-Europeans lived in an area where it showed were in the lands which were part steppe and part forest. This forest included birch trees, which only grow north of the geographical line. They had domesticated the horse and used the wheel attached to wagons used for hauling goods as well as for war. They herded cattle and sheep. They transported themselves across and along waterways, rivers, lakes, seas. They smelted bronze and copper. The Hittites were among the first to smelt iron. They had patrilineal kinship patterns, and that this identified themselves as the son or daughter of their father. Although they practiced agriculture, grew grains, and used the plow. They could also have a nomadic or semi-nomadic existence, riding horses, herding cattle, and raiding the cattle of their neighbors. Some of them were rather like the cowboys of Central Asia. These people were ideologically quite sophisticated and possessed a complex mythic and social structure. They had a system of sacrifice and poetic compositions to be sung to power their sometimes rather elaborate rituals. The world of the gods was reflected in that of humanity and our temporal existence. Theirs was a tripartite or threefold system. In this system, there existed certain functions. The names of the gods and goddesses was less important than the system of the functions which they fulfilled. 1. Judge, king, poet, magician, sovereign power, cognitive, intuitive. 2. Warrior, physical power. 3. Farmer, craftsman, reproductive power. Society was arranged in this structure because the heavenly world of the gods was so arranged. This world is seen as a reflection of that one. The gods and goddesses were distributed in the structural model. Here we see the comparative model showing the Vedic, Indian, Iranian, Germanic, and Roman systems. Functions 1, Vedic Mitra Varuna, Iranian, Zoroastrian, Asha, Order, Vohu, Mana, Good Mind, Germanic, Tyr, Odin, Roman, Deus, Phidias, Jupiter. 2, Indra, Shatral, Physical Force, Thor, Mars. 3, Avishnu, Harvata, Meritat, Health, Immortality, Freyr, Njordr, Freyr, Freya, Coordinates, Ops. Many of the Indo-European groups had professional priests responsible for the performance of sacrifices. This was true of the ancient Celts and Italics as well as Indo-Europeans. Map 1 of the original homeland of the Indo-Europeans. That's not going to let me show the map. Area of the original homeland of the Indo-Europeans, major routes of Indo-European migrations. Map 2, the extent of Indo-European expansion. To summarize, the Indo-Europeans world was once a closely knit group of tribes which lived in the Central Asian region. The first great division between them was that the Hittites split off, and that a number of them moved westward into what is today Europe. Others went eastward to Iran and India, but they all remain brothers even today, and even if they have long since forgotten who their brothers are. Part of our work is to find a way in which we can rediscover our long-lost brothers.